Welcome to the Private Practice Pro podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping therapists cultivate success. Here's your host, Kelley Stevens.
This podcast is sponsored by Simple Practice. I've been using Simple Practice since 2016, which has helped me run a smooth and profitable private practice over the years. It has simplified everything from scheduling to billing, giving me a better balance between the work I'm so passionate about and the family time I'm not willing to miss out on. Check out the episode notes to get a free 2-month trial of Simple Practice, my preferred all-in-one HIPAA-compliant solution. Welcome back, everyone, to the Private Practice Pro podcast. Christy, I'm going to let you introduce yourself because I hate introducing people. I'm terrible at it. So tell us who you are, where you're sitting, all that.
Yeah, well, I'm Kristie Plantinga. Glad I'm introducing myself because my last name is a toughie, turns out. And I
got it. I know your last name.
Yeah,
I said it on Instagram this morning.
you're killing it, but most people are like, it's fine. It's super not common at all. But anyways, yeah, I'm Kristie Plantinga. I'm the founder of TherapieSEO. We're a digital marketing agency for therapists. And more recently, Best Therapists, which is a new therapist directory we're working on. Been doing this for like 5 years now. We've collaborated in the past. And I'm glad we're, checking in again because I definitely feel as if, things are shifting a bit and maybe therapists have been feeling that. They have it in their practices. But yeah, I'm excited to get into some of this stuff because I definitely think it's worth, thinking about and having a conversation about. So.
Oh, 100%. And we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff in this episode. And I'm imagining people are going to want links. So just so anyone listening, we're going to put all those links in the show notes.
Links.
So many links. Because, we're talking digital marketing. We're talking about directories. We're going to talk about SEO. Like there's going to be a lot of links. So, but I'm glad we're having this conversation too, because it feels very full circle for me because you were a guest everything in the first course I ever filmed. So, and you were one of only two, like I
couldn't tell you, I did not know that till later. And I was so flattered. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I was one of two people in Kelley's course because you're just like, people just love you and you're so amazing. And I was like, I cannot believe this. So.
Well, SEO is one of those things that I really believe in outsourcing, and so a lot of times in my courses, I'll talk about what people can do themselves and then what they really can't do themselves. And I think obviously there's a certain amount of things that people can do to really improve their SEO on their own. But I always recommend people invest in, if they really want to get serious about SEO, in hiring someone, which is why you were in one of my first courses. And it feels really full circle because I was recording that course like in my mom's condo to get away from the noise of my kids. And I think I was late and I watched, the video quality is different than we're at now. And it was a long time ago, dude.
Yeah, it feels like a
long time ago. Yeah, I feel like we were still in like pandemic mode.
Absolutely. And fully.
Yeah.
Fully.
So where should we start? Are we going to talk about AI? Should we just talk about AI?
Yeah, I think, again, we were, talking a little bit before we started recording, but also I think, hearing your experience as well and how you feel like things are shifting because you are very online, like you're a very online brand and everything. But I think generally with AI and generally in the therapy industry, definitely across, all industries, I would just say that the standards are rising. And part of that is increased competition. It's like when I started TherapieSEO in 2019, SEO for therapists was searched 40 times a month. And now it's over 150 times per month, right? Big increase.
Yeah.
And a lot of that's, obviously that's reflective of the competition that's out there. So I think that is something for people to keep in mind. We could obviously see that similarly on Instagram. And I feel like a lot of these other platforms are just favoring more of the full-time content creators. You know, it's like you have to be pretty invested in it to do it. So the standards are rising in terms of competition, but I think specifically how AI is interacting with all of that. And if someone hasn't yet, definitely mess around with ChatGPT.
Right.
See what its, you know, uses.
Kind of fun.
It is very fun. And like you can use it for all sorts of things, not just, you know, business oriented things as well.
100%. I use it to write text to my like I'll write a text of
amazing
what I really want to say, and then I'll be like, make this sound kinder.
Please tone this down.
Right.
Actually feel
take a little edge off the top. And okay, before we do this though, I want to get, because I'm imagining somebody listening to this might have heard what we just said of like standards are rising, it's getting harder, whatever. We're going to offer some solutions and some hope and some ideas for you. So we're going to talk a little bit about the problem right now and some of the challenges you might be facing marketing your practice online. But we've got some solutions for you. So so don't turn off the episode yet.
No. And, you know, I just feel like my job lately has been the Debbie Downer, and like, you know, that's not a fun place to be. You know, you don't really get used to it, but
yeah, that's true. But you created a literal solution, which we're going to talk about. Okay.
Yes.
But let's go back to AI. So first of all, here's my question. Obviously, like therapists a lot of us have blogs, right? And so a lot of people will say, just have ChatGPT write your blogs. And I don't know the answer to this. What do you think about that?
I think what I would say about ChatGPT and blog content specifically is ChatGPT isn't an easy way out. It's an easier way forward. It's not this opportunity for you to cop out of actually doing your marketing.
Right.
You can definitely automate a lot of stuff with it. So, you know, if you're writing a piece of content and you're like, well, I want to, you know, provide some evidence for this, or want to quick list the symptoms of that, that's not something you have to write out. You can have ChatGPT do it for you. So I think the people who use it to enable more brain space for them to do more creative and advanced things are going to be the people who come out on top across like society, because AI is becoming more integrated in everything that we do. And I think in 3 years, we're going to laugh at how limited it is today. Like that's how quickly this stuff is advancing. So I definitely think it is a tool, but it sounds like a robot still for sure. Like you put something 100%. Out and it's super generic, and you always have to verify that the information is correct because it's not a search engine. You know, I mean, I think ChatGPT 4.5 or something, they have, I think, the ability to crawl the live, you know, web, but that's almost kind of an issue too, because then you might run into issues of plagiarizing, accidentally, of course. So, you know, I definitely think you can use it to automate things. You don't need to write out, do some research for you, outline, use it for an outline, you know, so you don't have to go through that as well. But that the content typically isn't unique enough. And I think this gets to definitely one of the main things that I would encourage therapists to do is working on their individual reputation online. Huge with Google. It's this acronym we refer to in the biz, EEAT. It stands for experience, expertise, authority, and trust. ChatGPT doesn't have any of those, right? They're not experienced in this specific thing. They don't have an expertise. They're authoritative in the sense that it's like a tool, but, you know, like no search engine is going to be like, oh, ChatGPT generated content, my favorite. No one's going to do that. And then obviously it's like a trust is a symbol of a relationship, and Google doesn't have a relationship with ChatGPT. They have a relationship with you and your website. So ChatGPT can give you a nice foundation, but in terms of, you know, you talking about, in my experience, this is the most effective way to tackle this problem. Or if this doesn't work, this is what I would suggest for my clients. Or look, I've been quoted on HuffPost and the New York Times, and this is my specific niche. Like that's the stuff that is so, so important in 2024 and beyond, I'm assuming. And ChatGPT can't get you there. So
Well, and I wonder that. So what you said about like Google saying this is some ChatGPT content, that I've wondered that too. Like, can Google tell if a blog post has been written by ChatGPT?
I think eventually, yes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, a huge update in SEO the last year since, I guess, oh my God, August 2022, which feels like yesterday and also so long now. They came out with the helpful content update. So every few years, Google drops this like core algorithm update. And it's, you know, this big game changer, shakes a bunch of stuff up because they release little updates all the time, but this is a really big one. And the helpful content update boils down to, is the piece of content that you're creating for this keyword the best resource for that? And I think online especially, it's looking a lot of different ways. Like if you Google something today, you'll see ads, obviously, because that's how Google makes all their money. You'll see ads, maybe Google business results. You'll see maybe videos off of YouTube, maybe TikTok videos, links to forums like Reddit, Quora, and then, you know, some of the organic search results. So many different types of content. And for certain keywords, Google will prefer certain types of content. So the traditional written doesn't necessarily, it's not like a guaranteed in like it used to be. You just have to be more creative with even the types of content you're putting out. Because when someone looks for, you know, do I have complex trauma quiz? They don't want a 2,000 word essay on complex trauma. They want to take a little quiz and get this kind of like informal diagnosis, right? Like that's what people want. So really, really honing in on that, especially since the way that ChatGPT functions is based on feedback, right? And we're seeing a little bit of that feedback feature on Google. It's more prevalent on Bing since Microsoft is an investor in OpenAI. So they're a little bit more kind of dialed into that stuff. But we're already seeing like feedback in the search results. Like, is this what you were looking for? Or do you want to go down this rabbit hole instead?
Oh, interesting.
I think it's going to change how people even search online so they can get exactly what they're looking for. So specificity, good content, like that's kind of the way forward in my opinion.
You blew my mind.
I know, there's a lot there. I just kind of ran and like, take what you want, leave the rest. You know?
I feel like we need to have a 3-day seminar. So, okay. So if I'm putting on my therapist hat and I'm thinking, I just heard this. So if you're a therapist and you don't have all the time in the world to create TikTok and blogs and YouTube and Instagram, and where do you go with this piece of information and where the industry is going?
Yeah, you know, I tell you, the conversations I've had, the things that I've been thinking, it's just like, what's working? What's working now? What's going to continue to work? Because it's a huge bummer, you know, to invest a bunch of money or time and then all of a sudden things are just dropping off, you know, for reasons outside of your control. It's a horrible feeling. Kind of the nature of the industry. If you're online, you have to expect that things are going to change. But I think it depends a lot on someone's tolerance for volatility. Like, are you okay riding out? Because being a business owner, it's a constant up and down, 100%. You know, like we've all had those sleepless nights, whatever. But that is absolutely how things work online, regardless of the platform that you choose. So in some ways, you just kind of have to plan on that, you know, have the savings shored up, make sure that you're not getting stagnant in the things that you're doing. And then if you really don't want to play that game, pay someone else to do it for you. You know, like, so you can opt in and plan on just like, I'm going to have to be a bit more intentional about this, a bit more research. Mediocre content just isn't cutting it anymore. Or you can pay someone to do it for you. So it's truly like
that's what I believe in.
Time versus money thing. And like, that's the thing. I also don't think people should invest a lot of time or money into things that they hate, you know, like
100%.
TikTok grosses you out. don't do TikTok because you're going to resent it and then you're going to put in a bunch of time. And you're probably going to get burned out and that's okay.
Probably not going to create very good content either.
Also that, yeah. It's going to be like, she doesn't seem to love this.
100%. I mean, like I've kind of fallen on the side of hire somebody to do my SEO and they can check you out in the links in the show notes. As we said, there's going to be a million links. Hire Christy. Or also, you know, to remind therapists, there are tons of ways to market your practice offline. And I talk about this in my Marketing for Therapists course. I give you tons of modules. And those things in many ways are very sustainable because a lot of it is about building relationships and, you know, with the doctor down the street and the lawyer down the street. And like, they're not going anywhere. You can have lunch with them in 2 weeks. So there are a lot of ways to do this. And I recommend hiring someone to do your SEO because for most of us as therapists, we're not sitting at our desk being like, I want to research the latest Google update, you know, at least I don't. So if SEO is something you want to do or just digital marketing in general, you know, and then, you know, a lot of therapists are becoming content creators too. And so the questions that I get from people are not just about marketing their practice, but sometimes also about marketing their products. And that, you know, can be really helpful to have somebody kind of help you with. So,
yeah. And I think like if people are interested in selling more, you know, a course or a product or whatever, that has to be an online thing because so much of it is just a numbers game. You know, it's like a lot of this stuff, the conversion rate is maybe 1% to 2%. You know, unless if you have 10,000 potential referrals, you know, it's like, it's going to be tough to make that sustainable. But I 100% agree. People can absolutely opt out of this stuff if they want to, but then they just have to be prepared to do more of the relationship building. Even if it's really local stuff, like getting involved at your local chamber of commerce. You can get really creative with it. You absolutely don't have to do it. But even for that, I'm sure that takes more effort now than it did a few years ago. You know?
I definitely think it was funny. Literally last night I had a friend come over and she's like, why are you not going to this Chamber of Commerce meeting? And I was like, I don't know what amount of time you think I have in my week with 2 very small children. But I'm like, I'll tell you, Christy. But I agree with you with all of that. And so,
hey, therapists. Are you listening to the show and thinking, I really want to launch my own private practice, but I have no idea where to start? Make sure to check out Kelley's Private Practice Roadmap course. In the course, Kelley gives you the exact steps you need to open your own thriving practice. You can find the link below in the show notes.
Let's give people so you saw this problem happening in the industry and you said, okay, I'm going to give therapists somewhat of a solution. So let's talk about the directory a little bit and how you decided to launch a therapist directory and with this problem in mind. So tell us how that all evolved.
Yeah, it was an interesting journey. You know, my team and I, we've been anticipating these changes for a while now. Like we knew that this is where the industry was headed. And so it kind of was like multiple things. Job security, to be totally honest. I was like, how are my skills going to adapt to the future? Was one thought. But also the other thought is it's like, you know, again, I don't think all digital marketing is as accessible to as many people as it used to be. So I know that the pool, you know, for my potential clientele for SEO services is shrinking. Again, it totally works. I do not want people to doubt how effective it is, but it's a bit tougher of a process. And so if you know personally that's going to be really tough for you and the stress isn't going to be worth it, I don't know if I'd recommend it for someone. So we knew that things were just kind of shifting. And I've always, you know, you're always thinking as a business owner, what is going to work for this type of person, you know? And I realized that tier that was more for people who maybe they have a lower marketing budget right now. Or they're like, I really don't know if I have it in me to do Instagram or whatever. It's like, what can I do for them? So your mind goes to, how can I give someone the experience of being on Google right? Where it's like someone sees your face, they see your name, they get some info from you. How can I give people that experience without them having to invest a lot of time and money into this process?
Right.
And then I ran into the idea of a directory, which is not anything new. like I've become the cliche. I was like, how is there a directory? But I was like, I want to do it differently because, again, like I want to offer that same experience of being on page one. A lot of these other directories with thousands of results for any given, query on one of the big directories, it's like you're not guaranteed to be seen.
Right.
So what we do is we do max 6 therapists on a page.
Right.
So someone clicks on our page, they're gonna see, your information. So it's like being on, page 1 of Google because you're kind of standing on the shoulders of all the SEO work that we've done for you.
Right.
Is basically what it is. And that's what all directories are. But we're just a bit more exclusive, I would say. We have, like a vetting process that you have to pass with peer reviews. We'll check your online reviews, all sorts of different things to make
your
sure
license,
your license, disciplinary stuff, peer reviews, like all sorts of things to basically, if you're going to be one of those 6 people, we want to really vouch for you. Because people, we were talking about this right before, there's a whole category on all search engines. People search best such and such, right? For everything. Services, jeans, like you name it. Best is its own category on these search engines. So that's who we're targeting. Like we're not for everyone. We're trying to have like, therapists who are really honing their craft and they're making all these decisions to only see a certain amount of clients. They're only seeing a certain type of person. And we want to connect them with the people who are like, I want to work with the best. Like I'm ready to do this. So those are more of the connections we're trying to facilitate. So we're not for everyone. We're not, this generic solution. So it's different and it's certainly challenging. I can see why other directories don't do that. But that's what I believe in personally. It's like what I'm more passionate about is facilitating those kind of like soulmate connections between
the really good clinical care connections.
Yeah, just like that, like the life-changing stuff. So that's kind of where we ended up as a solution for those people. We're definitely growing still. I believe in the idea because everyone I tell about, they're like, that's a really good idea. And I'm like, I think so too. So we're definitely in that growing phase, but we have some of the best in the biz doing this.
Well, and you have the best domain name, besttherapist.com.
Besttherapist.com. Yes. That's that was very intentional because I was like, if we don't get it, someone else is going to. And not on my watch. So
So how much does it cost? That's the number one people are going to ask me. Yeah.
It's $30 a month right now. Awesome. Once we kind of reach some of our goals, it is going to be more expensive just because you're getting the exclusivity that other directories don't offer. But right now, we're just trying to keep it super, super affordable. Really just like keeping the lights on as we grow and make a name for ourselves. So,
I mean, if people get like one referral, it pays for itself.
Yeah, exactly.
One referral a year.
Yeah. That's definitely the goal with it. And I definitely think since starting it, I'm certainly more almost kind of like sympathetic to the way that kind of works. Like we're offering Google ads now and stuff. And I think therapists should count on, just kind of paying for a client. Maybe if you're like, a private paid practice and all that kind of stuff. It's probably going to be like $100 to $300 to acquire a client. And I know that feels like a tough pill to swallow for some people, but it's like,
if you're acquiring them online.
But it's like, how much are you making off of them?
If you're charging $200, $250 a session, I mean, 100%.
Yeah, you see them for 6 months. It's like a no-brainer. So I think it's just this kind of comfortability that I want, to communicate. Because I feel like in the last few years, like you can kind of get around certain systems and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like those, at least in the stuff that I do, those days are coming to a close. So you just have to get comfy where it's like, I pay for a client in one way or another. I'm paying for them. And that's normal and that's okay. And that's how it works in most other industries.
Right. I know. I think it's therapy. Like for us as therapists, we're like, people should just come to us.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just this like soulmate matching process. And it's like, no, actually, if you're marketing in the digital space, like it does cost money.
Yep.
You know, like I know in my business, we run ads, like, and people will often tell me on Instagram, like, I can't believe you admit that you run ads.
Like, you're like, well, I want to make money. So
I don't know what to tell you. Like, you know, that's a lot of times what people do. And so, and even if you look at like treatment centers they're running at, you know, like ads are the way people, so
addiction centers, like the advertising budgets for some of these.
Oh my God, I know.
People are insane. But I mean, when we talk about volatility, turbulence in the future, ads are not going anywhere. Because that's how some of the biggest companies in the world are making money. So if you want, you know, consistency, ads are kind of like a great way to go if you're working with a company that like gets what you do.
Right.
Therapy industry is its own lovely,
it's its own animal. I know.
Lovely little area.
100%. I tell people, like, unless you're working with companies that specialize in working with therapists, they do not get it. Yeah. Like I can't. I've had some horror stories, even in my own people who I thought kind of got it and didn't, and everything. So. Okay, so people want to sign up, they can click the link in the show notes, which is great. And I would say, like, for any directory, I always tell people, like, give it 6 months. You know, try something out for 6 months. Really look at, like, is this paying for itself? And if it's paying for itself, then why stop?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes people will say to me, like, I only got X number of referrals from something. And I'm like, okay, you paid $30 a month and you got X number of referrals, you're making way more money than you would be if you weren't getting those referrals. So, you know, I think it's like, do the math and calculate it.
Yeah.
So
if the exposure is working, you know, then keep doing it for sure.
Yes, 100%. So Kristie, here's the question I want to ask you, but kind of before we wrap up, which is, if you were a therapist and you had only maybe 1 hour a month or a week, 1 hour a week to work on your digital marketing. I didn't prep you with this question. I should have sent it to you, but
I like it. I like the challenge.
But what would you do? Because a lot of the people I work with only have an hour. And they're like, oh my God, this is a lot of information. So where would you spend your time? If you had maybe add some budget for the month and you know, what would you be focusing on if you wanted to market a practice in the digital space right now?
You know, you can go for the short term solutions, or you can go for the longer term things. Definitely where I encourage people who are just starting out, and again, they're very limited in different ways, just because circumstantially, like that's where most people are when they start a business. I still recommend Google Business. I think it's a really, really great thing. It's super straightforward.
Right.
It's accessible to most people, you know, and what's nice is because it's free, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't have to pay anything. And since it's so location based, I feel like there's a room for everyone, you know, because the results are going to be different if you're searching on one side of a city and then another side of the city. So it's like there's almost more room for everybody. And I also feel that it is future-proofed against some of these bigger mental health companies starting to clunk up, you know, the first page of Google. They likely will not pursue a local SEO, Google business strategy. So it's almost kind of this like safe haven for small businesses. Most of my clients are getting clicks within like 3 to 6 months to Google Business. So the turnaround time is pretty fast. So that's what I would say. If you want to do, you know, longer term kind of stuff, I would go maybe more guest posting, get on podcasts, do like PR. That's a really big thing that we're focusing on now. Getting your name out there on big publications. PR, I think, is a really, really good thing to do as well. And then if not, content. Just create some good content. You
Yeah.
put out some good stuff in an hour. I feel like you really put your head down and get creative.
100%.
Like we were talking about. So
I only have a lot of weeks, a couple out. I mean, I absolutely do this full time, but like with having little kids, I can bang out like 9-10 reels in an hour.
Yeah.
And I just like, well, even right now, there's a pillow under the door to my home office. We're doing this. We're 29 minutes in, and I'm going to go feed a baby after this. So, okay, well, this is all great. And we will put all of the links below so people can know where to contact you and where to sign up for Best Therapists. And yeah, Kristie, we're going to have you back on probably, another few months.
Yeah.
And everything will be different.
I know. Things will be, no, I feel good about, I feel really good about the things I'm recommending now. So this should all be very accurate in 3 months.
Perfect. Okay.
Is my hope. So
thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Ask Kelley Anything is just around the corner. But first, a word from our sponsor. Stay tuned for Kelley's response to your private practice questions.
Therapists, do you want more clients at your full cash rate? Mentaya is a platform that navigates out-of-network benefits for clients. They get clients on average 70% back on therapy by filing claims and chasing down insurance companies. They handle literally everything so that you can focus on what matters. Click the link in the show notes to learn more and get 1 month free using the code PRO.
On today's Ask Kelley Anything, somebody wants to talk about maternity leave, and I'm here for it. So let's play today's message.
Hi, Kelley. My name is Natalia. Thanks so much for offering this, platform to be able to answer these questions. So I am going to be going out on maternity leave for the first time in December. And I just wanted to know what your maybe top, tasks or tips would be for preparing my practice, things that I can do prior to my leave, things I can do with communicating with clients, just to best prepare myself and my clients for my leave. Thanks so much for your help.
All right. So this person wants to know what my top tips are for preparing for maternity leave. So I will tell you, as I'm recording this, my baby is about 2 months old. This is kind of my first day back in recording things. I happen to have some childcare today, but I'm by no means back to work full time. I think I've worked a total of 2 hours this whole week, including this moment right now. So I am in the thick of it. And I will tell you kind of what has worked for me in the last 2 maternity leaves that I've taken. So, first and foremost, you have to get really clear with yourself about how you want to communicate with your clients about how long you're going to be gone. So the very first thing you need to do is decide how long you're going to be out from your practice. And everyone is going to be different. I have a good friend who was a primary moneymaker in her family, had twins, but had to be back to work within 2 weeks and to sustain her income. And that was just the reality. And she did it and pulled it off and made it happen. I've had other friends, me included, who've taken almost a year off of their private practice and everything goes fine and they're able to rebuild their census and come back. So everyone is different and it's going to depend on your individual financial situation. So that's the very first thing I would say. And, I would sit down and say, how long can I afford to take off? How long do I want to take off? And based on that answer, you're going to communicate with clients differently, right? If you're only taking 4 weeks off or 6 weeks off, your clients might just take a break from therapy for a few weeks and they might not see somebody in the interim. If you're taking 6 months or a year off, clients might totally move on to a new therapist. If you're taking 2-3 months off, maybe clients will see a therapist in the interim and then come back or make the decision of whether or not they're going to stay with that other therapist. So every kind of situation is different, especially depending on how long you're planning to take off. So the first step I want you to do is sit down, make a budget, and decide how long you're going to take off. Then you have to decide when you are going to let your clients know. I chose to let my clients know pretty early on, typically around, I'm trying to think, about like the 6th month mark of my pregnancy when I had a few months left to go. Part of this has to do with the population that I see, that I tend to work with a lot of young adults and teenagers. And for most of my clients, it wasn't really that big of a deal in their mind. I don't know if it's because most of them were not parents and didn't kind of understand that that meant there was going to be this big change and that maybe therapy would be interrupted. Most of my clients kind of were like, okay, and then kept talking about, whatever else was going on in their lives. And I had to kind of say, okay, we're going to have to talk about, are we going to take a break from therapy and that sort of thing. So I let my clients know a little bit earlier, but you have to think about the client population that you work with and how soon you want to let them know. The other thing you need to think about is how available you want to be for communication during those first few weeks of having a baby. I know for me, I told my clients, especially in my first pregnancy, when I knew I was going back to clinical work pretty quickly after, then a pandemic happened and that didn't happen. But anyway, at first I thought, okay, I'm going back in a few months. I let my clients know that I would not be available at all by phone during that time. And I had another therapist cover my practice. I set up my clients who I knew needed that weekly therapy session to see that other therapist, introduce them to her, had them book appointments ahead of time. And I let them know, really, I'm not going to be available even for emergencies. So I made sure they had a plan or another person that they were going to see. Even if you think I might be available, I would still err on the side of telling your clients that you are not going to be available. Because when you're pregnant, you just don't know what child you're going to have. Every child has different needs. Every medical situation can be different. You could have a super easy labor and delivery. You could have a super easy kid and you could be back to work, within however long you might think, or something unexpected could happen. And the last thing you want to be thinking about as a new mom in the thick of it is, I need to get back to my clients. So maybe you end up going back earlier, you end up having more availability than you think, but I would err on the side of telling people you're not going to be available at all and coming up with how long you are going to not be available for. I also let clients know that I'm planning to be back on X date, okay? And I will send you an email reaching out to you to let you know I'm back and asking you if you want to schedule a session. The one thing I told all my clients in my first maternity leave especially was, I want you to know that if during the time that I'm out, you found another therapist who's a good fit for you and you're doing good work with them and you're not feeling like coming back to therapy with me, my feelings are not going to be hurt. I am going to be so excited for you. That is totally normal and totally okay and part of the process. And I meant it. It's really important when we take these breaks, even though it can feel like we want to grip so tightly to our business and that we're scared and we might be coming at it from that scared mindset, to know that we first have to put our clients' best interest at heart. And if they have moved on and found somebody else, that is okay. You will rebuild your business. I have, first of all, had tons of mom friends do this. I've had consulting clients do this. You can rebuild a private practice, even if a lot of your clients go and start seeing someone else. It's going to be good. Soak in that time with your baby, set clear goals, set clear boundaries, and it's going to be awesome. Congratulations. I hope this helps.
Are you wondering how to promote and fill your private practice? Look no further. Kelley's comprehensive online course, Marketing for Therapists, will equip you with the essential marketing strategies to build a thriving 6-figure therapy practice. Don't miss out on this opportunity for success. Check out the show notes to sign up.
If you would like to be featured on Ask Kelley Anything, I love getting listener questions from you guys. Anything about private practice goes. And the best way to do that is actually just to give me a call and leave me a question on my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you the phone number right now and make sure to write it down. Here it is, 805-243-8241. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.